America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
The socialist fever in the Democratic Party seems to be spreading after Zohran Mamdani's win in New York City. Over in Seattle, they have just elected a socialist mayor, Katie Wilson, an inexperienced far-left radical who got financial support from her parents. She's on track to take down the incumbent Democratic mayor who has worked in city politics for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, so I've been pretty interested in all of this for a while because when Zohran Mamdani was on the upswing, I looked around and I said, guys, it's coming to a city near you. And we looked, yes, in Minnesota, he tried but failed. But in Seattle, I was interested in this race because the other guy that was running is a diverse guy who grew up with nothing, worked very hard, worked his way up. And she, again, borrowed money from her parents to do all of this. She and her husband choose to live in a 600 square foot studio apartment with a toddler. And she says, you too can live like me. Right. And now, but the other Democratic choice, and it's not that the guy who worked really hard and worked his way up was a Republican. He's not. He's a Democrat. And he's sitting there looking around going, wait, wasn't I like the poster child for what we were going to be? The DSA has been quietly and systematically working to build their troops. And bad policy will beat no policy every time. They are super smart about it. They know how to organize. They have classes where you can learn how to speak better. They are teaching people how to go and be persuasive. Now, in a lot of ways, to me, it's like the counter to Turning Point USA. And thankfully, Turning Point USA is growing so much. And their mission is assured because of Erica Kirk's stewardship there. And they're going to need them because Peter Thiel, who's an amazing entrepreneur and somebody, a technologist, he also says that it's understandable why younger people today are pulled in this direction because they feel that capitalism is not working for them.
My friends, the Demcom party is expanding. It's getting bigger and bigger. We hear that socialism is spreading in the Demcom party, but that's not what's happening. I've been telling you for years, the Democrat Party is the Demcom party. Originally, I called them the Democrat Socialists. They're not socialists. They're Demcoms. Now, this new, the mayor-elect, Katie Wilson, she wants all of you to live in a 600-square-foot commune. That's what communism is. They're not trying to hide it anymore. They are not trying to hide it anymore. It is here. They're very open about it, and it's spreading. The first openly communist mayor was Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Mamdani, obviously, the new mayor of New York City. And now this Katie Wilson in Seattle. It is spreading. I just played the audio clip yesterday from the 5, courtesy of the Fox News Channel. And the fact of the matter is that the spread of communism to these Demcom cities, let's put it this way. They were being run by Demcoms anyway. And heaven help you if you're not a Demcom. Look at poor John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. They practically, at this point, drummed him out of the party. And yesterday, he has a fall because he has he had an AFib incident. I'm sure all the stress that the Demcoms, his own party, which really isn't his own party, it's a different party now, Democrat Communist Party, Fetterman collapsed in the hospital. They've done that to him. There's a list a mile long that the Demcoms want Chucky Schumer out. The Demcoms want Chucky Schumer out. The party is the Communist Party in America. We've got to understand that. It is. I want to welcome in panelist Humberto Cancio and Humberto's son David Cancio. They are the co-authors of Gabriel Locke, Bound by Law. That's the book. We'll talk about that book in just a moment. Humberto was born in Cuba in 1953, but immigrated to the United States at the age of 6. His son David was born in 1991, has lived in both Florida and North Carolina, graduating from NC State with a major in Spanish. David is 34, a practicing Roman Catholic, and a Knight of Columbus, like yours truly. So I'm going to give David the Knights of Columbus sign, and he gave it back to me. Thank you very much. I just had Congresswoman Salazar on just a few moments ago. And I'm wondering, Humberto, is she your congresswoman in Florida?
No, actually, we moved to Palm Beach. She used to be my congresswoman.
Okay.
And,
So you've now moved to the East Coast of Florida. She was your congresswoman, and she's talking about a book that she has written on what she has proposed, the Dignity Act, and that proposal is to allow illegal immigrants in the country now, if they've been here 5 years or more and they've got a clean record, they haven't done anything wrong, that they should be granted political asylum and be allowed to work in the United States, and that's what she was here. We had a problem with her connection, so I'm understanding that she's going to come back next Friday to talk with us. But I'm not sure if you heard what I was saying earlier about the spreading of communism in this country, and we're hearing that socialism is spreading. Now we've got a so-called socialist mayor in Seattle. We've got Brandon Johnson, who is, as far as I'm concerned, a communist. Mamdani in New York City is a communist. What's going on here? What do you see?
I think that there's a generation that hasn't found answers. I think that the last 4 years were horrendous for our economy. I think that the kids are young. They want to participate in what has been the American dream. But they
obviously feel that capitalism to this point hasn't worked for them, Humberto. Is that true?
No, it has worked, but it has worked. They don't understand that they've been raised very privileged. That in this country, you're born and you're in the 5% richest people in the whole world. They don't understand that they've never had to think twice for food, most of them. I'm not saying everyone, but most of the ones that are voting communist and socialist are actually middle-class kids, and they've never had want for anything. So they figure it's very simple to give things away. Well, it's not. And you can see the indications by the lower classes that aren't buying it, because they know the truth. They know that nothing comes for free, and they know that every day is a struggle. So when somebody comes to them and tells them the story that everything's going to be cushy and everything's going to be free, they don't buy it. And I think that that's our main problem.
Humberto, do you still have family in Cuba?
Actually, I do, but very little.
But do you communicate with them? Do they tell you what life is like in Cuba now?
Well, a lot of my clientele, I'm an attorney, a lot of my clientele is Cuban American.
Right.
Hispanic in general, but especially Cuban American, and I am very well aware of what happens in Cuba. We have a cousin that came in this last flood of illegal immigrants. He is an engineer. He is an electrical engineer, and he used to work for the electrical company in Cuba. And one day he's walking home, and while they had those uprisings last year or the year before, a friend of his was in the middle of that and just happened to say hello to him, and he began to be persecuted just for having received the hello from his friend. He ended up leaving Cuba when he got home one night, and his parents told him that the Secret Service had been waiting. The secret police. Have been waiting for him to ask him some questions, and he immediately looked for a way out of the country because he knew that jail was in his future. So there is no question that it is a slave economy and a slave labor society.
Right.
But it's actually structured that way. You go to these government groceries with a list. You get a list. So you go to the grocery store with the list, and you get 2 eggs, this, that, and the other. It's supposed to last you for a month, and it quite frankly lasts you for a week. And for an American, it would be 3 days.
Right.
So
I eat two eggs in the morning, Humberto. So
right there.
My cholesterol level's a mess, but
But my point is that right off the bat, you know that they're encouraging black market, and that's what happens. And why do they encourage black market? Because they know everybody's doing black market, and whenever they feel like picking somebody up and throwing them in jail, they accuse you of black market. So it's an automatic jailable offense. And so they force the people to break the law. That takes away your moral strength.
Yes.
If you're a continuous breaker of the law, you lose your moral strength. And that's how they dominate people. And I see the same beginnings that we saw with Castro in these people when they open their mouth and they promise things that they can't deliver.
And they're smooth talkers. They're smooth talkers. There's no question about that. David Cancio, you were born in 1991, and it seems to me you've had a very good life. Your dad, your mom, I guess they provided well for you. But I'm wondering what those of your generation, what they are saying, what they are thinking, and how did you turn out so well?
I don't know. You'd have to ask my dad here if I turned out.
Go ahead.
I think it's still up for debate. But anyway, I think there are a couple of different things that we have to really look at. In the United States in the 1950s, you could have just a decent job with a high school education. You could provide for your family, maybe pay for college, and send and possibly have 2 cars and live perfectly fine. The difference is that nowadays, even with 2 working parents, college degrees, you have this incredible debt. You have people who are struggling to be able to purchase homes. 80% of people between the ages of, I believe it was 22 and 35, according to Fox News, still live with their parents because they cannot afford their own homes or afford their own apartments. Now, I think there's also a bit of a difference, right? We know that everything is about supply and demand economics. If 20 million people are trying to move to New York every single year, right? And I mean New York City,
right?
Honestly, the renters are going to have pretty much whatever their choice is, right? Like, the landlords. The
Right.
problem is that back in the day, you went to university, you learned what you did, you went back to your hometown, you tried to build up your hometown. For some reason, there seems to be this incredible exodus from the rural areas of young Americans that move to these expensive places, and then they're complaining because they don't have the same purchasing power. Now, I do believe that wages also have not really kept up. We know that middle class wages hadn't really risen until President Trump got into office. Why? Because he's creating a labor shortage. We all understand this because he's obviously slapped on the $1,000 or the $100,000 extra to the H-1B visas or HB1. Right. Forgive me if I've misspoken. But on top of that, he's trying to bring industry back to the United States. So when you have a labor shortage coupled with the power of the American dollar and infrastructure, not to mention our luckily deregulated version of capitalism compared to Europe, which has created a closed society, right? You're building the foundation for creating a new Gilded Age. But I think the problem is that too many Americans my age feel as if the financial effects of 2008 and prior, right, really crippled them and crippled their inherited wealth from their parents and didn't really give them a springboard to move forward. And I think they feel trapped. And that's why I think he won this election so overwhelmingly. 4,000 counties, all 7 swing states, won the popular vote. I think it's because Americans said, I want to have a better future. And Charlie Kirk, may he rest in peace, talked about that. If you don't provide an economic future and security for future generations, then socialism and communism ultimately become great alternatives.
And socialism and communism love that kind of a vacuum, David, don't they?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's the problem is that people aren't running to them because they think they're great systems. They're running to them because they think that capitalism has failed them.
Right.
That's really what it is.
Again, and I want to provide this question, David, to you. This was actually a question that was submitted on our interactive board by one of our producers for Congresswoman Salazar. But I'll read it to you. I'm a Catholic. Human dignity is a buzzword invented by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, an arm of the Vatican, to justify the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops being paid billions of dollars by the U.S. government. Producer Bob asks, why are you supporting such a thing? Now, we're both Catholics. We know how the Catholic Church helped to increase illegal immigration at the southern border. Catholic Charities was very much involved, and these are the types of things that people have seen, and, well, they're not very pleased with it, would you say?
I mean, I would agree with that. I have to be honest with you, I have to look more into it to get the total specifics behind it. But The human dignity is a very interesting word or term, if you will, to throw around. And I guess the way that I would look at it is this. Do I think that it is very much so human to try to leave your country if you're being persecuted? Absolutely. Without a doubt, right? This is a great nation of immigrants. However, I believe that the asylum policy of the United States has been abused, which I totally understand why President Trump is doing what he's doing to try to fix that. And I think that the difference is that what we're experiencing now is really unprecedented. And I say that because the people who are coming over are not necessarily suffering from those things. There are people that are clearly being trafficked and filtered into the United States.
No question about it.
I think the problem is that when you look at the Catholic Church, you are looking at ultimately an institution that is responsible for the lives of every single human being because they believe in the inherent dignity given to each and every human being by God. And if we are to look at that, we have to accept and understand that even though we may not agree with it because it makes us uncomfortable, every human being deserves dignity. However, as I will quote Pope Leo, he did state that mass immigration or mass migration is a problem that every country is facing, and it has to be handled correctly. And I know that right now there's a massive move back toward orthodoxy within the Catholic Church as opposed to more perhaps liberal policies.
Well, I hope so. I'm a traditional Catholic. I go to the Latin Mass, so let's hope that that is true. The first father-son combination is joining us here on Your News Talk America. Humberto Cancio and Humberto's son David Cancio. They're the co-authors of Gabriel Locke, Bound by Law. We're going to talk about that book in just a moment when we come back on Your News Talk America. Stay with us. Your News Talk America continues on this Digital Interactive Friday, live from DS2. If you want to watch the broadcast today, you can log on at realnewstalk.com. Now, as I mentioned, first father-son combo joining us today. We're very pleased to have them with us. Humberto Cancio, co-author of Gabriel Locke, Bound by Law, and his son David, also the author of Gabriel Locke, Bound by Law. Bound by Law chronicles the story of a young lawyer who chooses a forced resignation and leaves the state attorney's office. At his father's civil law firm, he represents the industrious, salt of the earth people trying to build honest lives on the other side of Miami Vice. Tell us about the book Gabriel Locke. It sounds to me like you brought real-world experiences and real father-son experiences to this book.
Well, I've been a lawyer for 46 years. And coincidentally, I started practicing in 1978. So right in time for the book.
Wow.
Miami in the 80s was a very interesting place, and it was a wonderful place at the same time. You could see the city grow. But Miami suffered all the problems that the United States is suffering now. As David says, Miami became Florida, and Florida became the U.S. And so if you think about it, we had the Mariel boat lift.
Yep, 1980.
And the same proportion of people came to Miami than the illegal immigrants came to the United States. It's the same ratio, 4%.
Right.
And so Miami in 1980 was suffering the same problem. Also, we had the drug problem, which everybody knows about.
Right.
We had racial disturbances, 3 major ones in this period of 10 years. So we thought that the 1980s was a wonderful time to place a book, because it not only gives us a historical past, but it gives us an inkling of the future. And
without question, we're living that future right now. With the 1980s and the immigration reform of 1986, it's given us the situation that we have right now, Humberto, correct?
Correct. It taught us something, but the immigration in 1980 was a very specific one. It was mostly people who were coming and running away from communism. For the audience, I'd like to review that at that time, there were 4 civil wars in Central America. 4 countries, Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, and
Salvador, yeah.
right. And so there were four of them going on there. There were problems in Colombia. There were problems in Peru. There were problems in Argentina, Uruguay. So you had people coming from all these nations to Miami, running from communism. And so it was a very specific type of immigration. They came there for freedom. And that married their ideals with the American ideals. And so that was very important, and it created what is Miami today. Whereas the people who have come now, not so sure that there's that same marriage, because most of them didn't come running from communism. They just came for a better job. So it isn't an automatic marrying of ideals. And I think that's the big difference between both situations.
And again, my friends, the book is entitled Gabriel Locke. It's Bound by Law chronicles the story of a young lawyer who chooses a forced resignation and leaves the state attorney's office, works at his father's civil law firm. He represents the industrious salt of the earth people trying to build honest lives on the other side of Miami Vice. He's a common man, working uncommon cases and practicing law in the Miami of the 1980s. Final question, if I can, just been posted by one of our producers, and wanted to know, why is it that young people just given up on capitalism when obviously you both have done very well with it? What do you think?
It's a multifaceted and multi-layered question, so permit me the chance to break it down. I believe it's a couple of different things. One, there's a certain level of entitlement that is not earned.
Okay.
You could argue about participation trophies, but I'm not going to argue that. I got one when I was a kid. I turned out just fine. I realized you had to work.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But so I won't give that one a pass. But what I will say is this: I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that middle class wages hadn't risen in a long time. That there wasn't a labor shortage. That Americans were feeling to a degree that everybody had to go to college and get mounted with this incredible debt. I mean, let's be honest. When my father went to Duke in 1975,
quickly, please. We're running out of time, David.
Last thing to say, basically, the reason why people are disillusioned is because I think that they feel like there aren't as many options. When there are more than enough options, they just don't look for them.
And they think that socialism is going to cure all ills. Remember, my friends, the book, Gabriel Locke. Gabriel Locke. Thank you both so much for coming on today.
America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
What do you make of this MI6 announcement, if I may ask?
Well, let's take the two things. Let's take your options and let's take Blaine Holt and put them together.
Okay.
Half right. There is a third option.
Okay.
And the third option, I'll present it bluntly and then maybe we'll have time to explain it. What I write about in my book, the corruption of the City of London, Great Britain, in the 80s with arms dealing and money laundering, primarily Iran and Iraq, never went away. Networks were created, power influence created, and it continued. Mm-hmm. This is not the case that Starmer is upset. This is not the case that MI6 are continuing to provide information. Something that's very easy to check. It was certainly the case yesterday. It may not be the case today. No English media outlet is reporting this, and that is because the Ministry of Defense have blacked it out. And that's not because of Keir Starmer. That's because these drug boats are drug boats financed by the City of London and the networks and their money laundering and their arms.
My friends, that was earth-shattering information provided by our good friend Geoff Gilson, the author of Maggie's Hammer, just a few days ago on this program. And talk about marrying what General Holt said and what Geoff Gilson said. Well, we're going to have them both on here on Your News Talk America. Geoff Gilson joins us now. And Geoff, the information, again, that you provided us the other day was earth-shattering. And the fact that you provided so much important information with regard to the City of London and how the cartels or the money laundering arm of what's going on in the City of London. I'm telling you, I was just shocked at some of the things that you provided, and I'm so glad this morning that we also have with us Brigadier General Blaine Holt, host of Dangerous Intellectuals podcast. Geoff, welcome to the program. Good to have you back on.
Well, thank you, Jake, for having me on. I didn't realize that this podcast was going to be video. So people, I'm sorry I'm wearing a T-shirt, but the good news is that I did manage to change out of my mankini pajamas first.
Well, you do have the flag with all of the portraits of Her Majesty the Queen behind you, so that is fine. And joining us, he's not actually, his face isn't on. He is the host of Dangerous Intellectuals. There is a contractual issue that General Holt has with Newsmax of him doing any other video. So he and I concocted this idea that we would help to promote his podcast, Dangerous Intellectuals. Now, you both know that I provided you, Geoff, with some audio cuts from General Holt being on this program and from his podcast, Dangerous Intellectuals, so you could be familiar with what General Holt is saying. And General Holt, I did the same for you for Geoff Gilson. Good morning, General Holt.
Good morning, and Geoff, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. In fact, I just bought your book, and I can't wait to read it.
And I did as well. I purchased your book too. So, my friends, I certainly urge you to order Geoff Gilson's book, Maggie's Hammer, it's called. It's $15 on Amazon. It's a great buy, but it breaks down all of the things that Geoff has been talking about on this program. Geoff, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you, and General Holt, good morning to you also. I guess I've got to sort of come up with my own contract with someone. Maybe I'll just stop doing any more video and say, well, that's a contract between me and my twin sister, and you can see pictures of me if you buy the book. But thank you both for buying the book. Christmas is coming.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right.
All right, so let's go to our first issue that we need to flesh out a little bit here. I'm going to go to you first, Geoff, and that is the City of London. Is it the world headquarters for the globalist cabal of what's going on right now? And you linked obviously what President Trump is doing in attacking these drug boats. How serious of a threat is the City of London right now, in your estimation?
Well, I would put it like this. I have been trying to monitor British media for the last now 2 days since we last spoke, and there is still not a word in the British press about the United Kingdom intelligence entities no longer sharing with the United States.
Yeah.
This therefore has nothing to do with Keir Starmer. He had Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday. He wasn't asked, or if he was asked, it wasn't reported. This has been buried by the British intelligence who worked with the City of London to form a cabal back in the 80s. And it's been continuing ever since. This is how powerful they are. It is my impression, certainly from what I've been studying for the last 30 years, that the City of London is it has been written by other people, not just me, that certainly in terms of drugs, City of London is the financial epicenter for financing drug running globally, period. You can wear a three-piece suit. That's what you are. You're up there with Pablo Escobar's now, dead of course, I believe. But that's how important it is. And the word went out, we're going to stop sharing intelligence because you're blowing up our drug boats.
General Holt, our producer, Brian, has a question for you, and I'm just going to throw it out right at this juncture here. Asking if you believe that the City of London and what is referred to as the New World Order are one in the same. General.
Oh, they're certainly linked. And it's really quite a fascinating, because when we talk about the City of London, we're actually talking about senior management. When you look at the Klaus Schwabs of the world, you're looking at middle management. Soros is trying to break into those ranks. Larry Fink just got himself a senior management position. But the shadowy ones, the ones you can't see that we put under these labels, whether it's City of London, financialists, whatever you want to call it, These are the families that want to control the world. These are the ones that want to control everything. And City of London, it's kind of a moniker that doesn't quite fit, because we're not just talking about the UK. We're talking about a network where they don't wear citizenships. We're talking about more money than Elon Musk could ever hope to have in his lifetime. When I get so entangled when they say, "Oh, he's the richest guy in the world," it's like not even close. He's not even He's not even middle class. And so this what they do with their policy arms, and I would call their policy arms the top think tanks. CFR. You're looking at World Economic Forum, and then go to the UN with the WHO. You have this interconnective networking, and that's why what you see is a central command authority that emerges. You can go back to COVID, and you can go to, wow, this is happening in all these cities at the exact same time. Why would that happen? How is that even possible? Well, it's because they get their marching orders. And when we get the marching orders down to the lower level managers, meaning politicians around the world, the European Union, the Ursula von der Leyens of the world, we have American politicians. I'm not going to open myself up to a lawsuit here, but we've got them. And so then you start to see policies that are almost identical. The latest flavor of the day, which, by the way, is extremely important to them, is digital ID. And they want that so they can get you your Chinese social credit score. And they want that so they can do the digital backbone surveillance. And then game, set, match. They control you. You don't control them. Now, there's a lot of flaws in their plans. We've talked about that on this program. But that's who we are. And when UK or Colombia says we're not going to cooperate with you anymore, you get some folks on both sides of the aisle screaming bloody murder in Congress about the drug boats falling. I'm going to go, and I'll end here with the line from Hamlet, to keep it central. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. And when you go and find the people who are against the murder of Americans via fentanyl, you really have to analyze their motivations, and it'll take you to the top.
Now, General Holt, you have talked about the middle management aspect, but Geoff, we've seen some very strange characters visiting number 10 Downing Street recently. Obama visited. What the hell was he doing there?
Free time.
I mean, well, General Holt, what do you think? Was Obama carrying messages for the British government? Was he bringing messages back?
It's a good sign. It's a good sign, because they were doing that publicly and out in the open. And what it shows me is that they're getting rocked. Their plans have in some way been jilted. It doesn't mean they're not confident. They're a very confident lot. But what it does mean is they've had emergency redirection meetings that they can only have in person with each other with no listening devices. And so by showing those visuals, that's something they wouldn't normally do unless they got pushed. I don't know how Geoff feels about it.
Geoff?
Well, I think insofar as Great Britain, City of London, other financial centres are concerned, City of London is an important cog. Keir Starmer is the quintessential bureaucrat. Keir Palmer is not a natural politician. He's Sir Keir Starmer because he was the director of the Crown Prosecution Service. He was educated, built, and made to be a bureaucrat to other people's commands and instructions. And his being the Prime Minister was a carefully thought out plan. And he took control of the Labour Party from the most far left leader, Jeremy Corbyn, that you could find. He was an essential cog in the machine. You've seen him in his photo opportunities with Trump. I mentioned last time, my good friend Keir. Yeah. And he has completely messed up. And he is in danger of being removed. And I agree with Blaine here, this was not supposed to happen. He was supposed to be safe.
Yeah, General, your response.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with that. And as a strategist and a NATO guy, I will tell you, I see as many opportunities in the push here as I do threats to this plan. If you look at President Trump's the reason he's an outlier, he is, I think, the only president that has not secured the endorsement or the relationship with Chatham House, or what we would call the Royal Institute for International Affairs.
Right.
And that alone should be your visual that this guy is a disruptor and could disrupt the system. And he has been doing so. The other thing I try to make folks understand is everybody thinks this is a war on drugs part 2. And it's like, well, we do need to knock out the drugs and we need to save American lives that way. And the human trafficking and the pedophilia and all that is deplorable. But what the reason that we're doing the war on the cartels is, think of it like that game Jenga. And the bottom Jenga block is the cartels, because the cartels' connective tissue goes through every single illicit thing: private banking, shadow banking, the Chinese Communist Party, the World Economic Forum, and on to intelligence services that have their own deep states. And by kicking over these beehives, you're knocking out a whole lot of equities and you're getting at the entire system. So President Trump's yanking on the Jenga block. They know it. We don't know how this is going to end. I would not espouse to say we should express any kind of arrogance at all. We're in for the fight of our lives, and this is a fifth-generation war environment.
Geoff, you must have a sore neck because you've been agreeing with General Holt. Your head's been going up and down in agreement on everything he said. Let me ask you both quickly. We have to get to a break, but I've got more questions for you both than I've ever had on our Dial Interactive board. And Vector is one of those questions, General. There you go. President Trump's life, is it under more threat now than it was last year in Butler, Pennsylvania, because he's shaken up the hornet's nest here?
Absolutely is, and he's not the only one. They need to double and triple down on security, and they don't need to be arrogant about thinking that the United States Secret Service can keep them safe at night. They need to really, really double and triple down, because the more you push at where the center of this fulcrum of power is, the more motivated they are to do things brazenly. Like, we know you can see this in the open air, but we don't care.
Geoff, you lost your good friend, John Simmons, CBE, back in November of 1988. Very mysterious circumstances. I wonder if he was a friend of Bill Clinton's, because that's how Bill Clinton's friends tended to disappear. But we'll be back with our panelists. This is a discussion unlike anything we've ever done, my friends. Brigadier General Blaine Holt, host of Dangerous Intellectuals podcast, and Geoff Gilson, the author of Maggie's Hammer. Order that book on Amazon or wherever you order books today. Back in a moment.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio, it's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
My friends, this is the concept, what you're seeing right now and listening to right now, what our owner, Mark Giuliani, had in mind with Dial, the interactive nature, and panel discussions. This is what we really want to do. And we have two of the best here talking, Geoff Gilson and Brigadier General Blaine Holt. And let me just ask this first before we get to our Dial questions, if I can, Geoff. November 1988, your good friend, John Simmons, was murdered. He was a CBE, which means he was a commander of the British Empire. He was a favorite speechwriter of Margaret Thatcher. He was your political mentor, your friend, your boss, and he was murdered. Now, if he was a CBE, he must have been known to the British royal family, no?
Well, yes, he was. In fact, we met Prince Andrew one time in Harrods. But just moving sideways a little bit, and I think this is helpful for your listeners and for your viewers.
Yes.
Blaine has clearly got a huge and wonderful handle on the very big picture. I never set out to find the big picture, and Blaine, don't take this the wrong way. If I was an ordinary person listening to you, I would find difficulty believing you. But I had to investigate the death of a friend. And what I did was go person to person, and I got to the same place that Blaine has got to, but through personal introductions. Let me give you an example. A person who was, and I didn't even realize it was happening in my small hometown in Beaconsfield, that I've discovered is a nexus of interest in this global conspiracy. I didn't even realize it. A guy called Peter Smith, I will mention names. Peter Smith ended up being the international chair of PricewaterhouseCoopers, but he sat on the local committee that I sat on with Hugh. We didn't have any idea he was that important. And later on, as I say, he became chair of the PricewaterhouseCoopers, treasurer of the British Accountancy Institute, and eventually the chairman of Savills, the largest property services company in the world. He was the man who oversaw the destruction of BCCI. He is the man who oversaw Robert Maxwell stealing the pension funds. He knew it was. He knew it was happening and he covered it up. And more importantly, he worked with Hugh to use Conservative Party global finance networks, which were huge, to help to launder the money and set up the networks which still exist today. He was on the Conservative Board of Finance. Peter was the auditor of the National Conservative Party accounts and hid all of this. And eventually, when he retired, and this will get Blaine's attention, he became and remains a non-executive director of N.R. Rothschild. Now, I used to sit on a committee with this guy. Mine is more of a personal story, but I believe everything that Blaine is saying because I've seen it from that personal introduction.
General, your response.
My response is I have a personal element here as well.
Okay.
I seem to have found myself in many, many situations during the course of my career around what we would call the evil or the frontline soldiers of this army that the City of London has put together. I was in the middle of a color revolution that was foisted in Kyrgyzstan. I was the commander there, and actually they threw it at me to put the country back together again after it happened in 2009 to 2010. Then I go to the CFR, and I'm the military fellow there. And trust me, I was around. I actually had an argument with a guy named Soros when I was there. I got to rub elbows with a lot of these folks.
Wow.
But in my military career, it was really running logistics for the European theater at U.S. European Command in a very interesting year, 2014, when a lot of things were going on, from the Maidan Revolution to the Little Green Men, but also this thing called Benghazi. And the things that I saw that I can't talk about really took the scales right off my eyeballs. And I'm a very curious person anyway. You know that about me, Jake. And I went into research mode from that day on. I finished up at NATO, a dream assignment for me. But then, I, like most generals, would go to Washington, D.C., hang a shingle and get started in their civilian lives. I flew right over that swamp and got just to building businesses and creating things instead of destroying things and shaking the rest of that off. Well, Kabul happened. And that's why I have a microphone in my hand now, because I think it's incumbent upon me to try to help use my own experience to help people waken up and understand what's really going on. And that's what Dangerous Intellectuals is about. We're trying very hard to give people other angles that they may not have considered, or at least to spark a hunger or an appetite for their own research.
Gentlemen, I have a bunch of questions here for both of you, and I'll ask if you can to keep your answers as concise as possible, because we're running out of time and I want to try to get to most of these questions. Producer Wolf, did the historical pattern start with the Opium Wars? And that question is directed toward Geoff Gilson. Geoff?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. I love that answer. Yes. Producer Bob, the world is on fire with communist oligarchy, corruption, and tyranny. Have we finally arrived at God's end times predicted by the Bible? I'm going to throw that question at General Holt. General?
Well, the setups are amazing, but, Paul the Apostle was off by thousands of years. And so I think don't pack your bags quite yet. I would keep your head in the game. Timothy 6 and Timothy 2 will direct you to do that. But we are in interesting days. There's no question about that. Don't forget to add fascism to that as well, because I think what the cabal has done is melded a perfect combination of fascism and communism, which we were told were opposite things. They're actually, as it turns out, not.
Geoff Gilson, was Valerie Jarrett with Obama visiting 10 Downing Street? That comes from our producer, X-Nuke.
I have no clue.
No clue. All right. Well, that's fine. Geoff, what is the current relationship between MI6 and the CIA here in the United States? Is there no relationship at all now, or is it just that any of the intel regarding the drug boats has been suspended from being transmitted from MI6 in London to the CIA in Washington?
Dry chuckle. Don't believe what you read in the newspapers. I'm sure Blaine will have more to say about the various levels and generations. But since the 80s in particular, when this all became turbocharged, intelligence agencies control governments, not the other way around.
Okay, there you go. Gentlemen, final word. General Holt, I'll go to you. Final word, please. We're really out of time, but I want you to leave off this segment, perhaps the most important segment we've ever done on Your News Talk America. Go ahead, sir.
My final word is final. Geoff, you're invited to Dangerous Intellectuals anytime. I would love to have you on.
Thank you.
Wow. How about that? And Geoff, your response?
I'd happily come, and I promise I won't wear a T-shirt or my glitter mankini.
It's audio only. We're set.
There you go. It's audio only. That's not going to be a problem. Gentlemen, I thank you for this segment. I am really proud of it, and I'm so pleased we were able to do it. We've got to do it again, and perhaps we will be able to do it again. My friends, you heard and watched something very special today. Remember the podcast, dangerousintellectuals.com. Order Maggie's Hammer today. I've ordered it. It's $15. Order the book. You will not be sorry. The next time you watch this segment with both General Holt and Geoff Gilson, you will be well educated, well versed in what's going on in our world. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You're watching Your News Talk America. Back with David Zier in just a moment.
Broadcasting from the YNTA Car Care Center studio. It's Your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America on this digital interactive Friday continues with your anchorman, Jake Smith, live from DS2, sitting behind the golden microphone. I want to thank, first of all, before we proceed with our good friend David Zier, I want to thank Snerdley, who's in the truck, and I want to thank Mark as well, and Walt, who's handling the audio controls in Studio A. Well, our next panelist, almost said victim, but that's is David Zier, host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News. David, as long as I've had you on this program, you have been pounding the point of the fact that the economics in this country are not good. Unaffordability is on so many people's minds, and the administration needs to focus on that. As of this morning, they appear to be focusing on affordability, especially home ownership affordability. How are you, sir?
I am great, Jake. Thank you for having me. And listen, the average age of home ownership in 1981 was 31 years old. Today, it's 59 years old. It's 59 years old. And in just 5 years, it went from 28 to 40 for first-time buyers.
At what age did you buy your first home on Long Island, David?
13. No, I'm only kidding.
That would surprise me.
27.
27. I was 21. I bought my first home in Ronkonkoma. I was 21 years old, and I think I paid $36,000 for a 3-bedroom ranch in Ronkonkoma in 1978. 1978. Mortgage rates at that time were 11%.
Well, do the math. So, like 36,000, that house is worth 600,000 today. Is your income gone up 20-fold? You know, so that people can't keep up.
Yeah, no, and you've been talking about this, David, and you've been saying that the Trump administration and the Republicans need to get a handle on this and get the message out and out some ideas if we're going to have a good showing in the 2026 midterms, right?
Charlie Cook report is saying that we're down 7 to keep the House, right? So,
wow.
You know, Epstein's a distraction from the Dems because taking focus off the shutdown, but it's also a distraction for the GOP. And I'm concerned they're in big trouble for the midterms here. And what's going on, with the housing prices doubling in just 4 or 5 years is not sustainable. But the unemployment rate for college graduates is about 6% as well. Not a lot of high-paying jobs out there for anyone getting out of college. You know, I was all across the country following the Trump campaign for 6 years on the road with Real America's Voice. And everybody driving an Uber, I'm like, what do you do during the day? And like, oh, I'm an accountant. You know, these weren't kids. These are people trying to put food on the table for their families because Biden ruined it all and the Dems ruined it during COVID. But prices are high in the supermarket and they're not coming down because once they're higher, they're not going to lower them. So I don't know how we go forward from here. We're not moving fast enough. This is why the Democratic Socialists of America are winning elections from the Gen Z vote. 78% of the young people went for Mamdani in the city.
David, 50-year mortgages, portable mortgages. At least the administration is floating ideas in which to be debated. What are your thoughts?
I don't think they're a good idea. I get, that Trump's trying to spur the market, and the average home person only owns a home for like a dozen years or so, and they move on, right? So it could be a temporary fix, but people can pay a lot more money in interest. It's just like they're building all these apartments here. I'm in New York and Long Island, right? There's no more home ownership opportunities, and everybody's going into these apartments for $3,000 a month. And if you make 80 grand a year, all your income is going to rent and food. So, I don't think it's the answer. Maybe it's a temporary thing. But the real situation is that even when I pay off my house next year, I'm still going to owe $13,000 a year in taxes. Local, state, and taxes have destroyed this whole housing market as well. Not sustainable. Every time I wake up, when I have my mortgage paid, I'm still going to owe $1,300 to the state, or to my, local and state level and county level. So it's high taxes, and it's not a sustainable situation.
What about the electric rates on Long Island? It's like New Jersey.
Yeah, we're at about 18 to 21 cents per kilowatt. We're one of the highest in the nation. I think Jersey, maybe California, Hawaii, and Alaska are higher. But yeah, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
David Zier is joining us, host of Breaking Point, Real America's Voice News. Kathy Hochul must be running for re-election because she just greenlit the gas pipeline that was being argued 15 years ago when I still lived on Long Island before we moved. There must be an election coming up.
I thought she was running for Real Estate Broker of the Year for Florida.
That's true. She should be getting a cut. She's driven so many people out of New York to Florida, David. That's a great point.
Well, now she's saying that she wants to raise corporate rates for New York businesses. It's like, come on, are you kidding me? It's like, it's always a 1-2 punch,
Yeah. But Elise Stefanik announced her candidacy for governor of New York. What are your thoughts? And Bruce Blakeman, as the also is interested in running for governor, the county executive in Nassau.
I'm a big Bruce Blakeman fan.
Me too.
I think he would make a terrific governor. But, maybe there's a joint ticket. But, Blakeman's 70, so I don't know if he wants to be lieutenant governor and then go into a governor's role later, But Elise has a war chest. I think it's hers for the taking because she made some sacrifices for the Trump administration, right?
Right. Yep.
But Blakeman is a doer and a go-getter for business. He's meeting with business leaders all over the place. And Nassau County is the safest county in the nation. Sorry, I have a sawzall and a hammer going in the background there for my studio.
That's okay. No, you sound fine today, David.
All right.
David, your thoughts? Another socialist mayor elected, this time in Seattle.
Well, yeah, Katie Wilson, right? She lives in a basement apartment. She's never had a job. Her parents help her. Another situation. But I was surprised. There's like a civil war going on in Minneapolis between the Somali crowd because Omar Fateh didn't get elected,
right?
And he was chosen by 60% of the caucus. For the Democrats to run against the incumbent, Jacob Fry, and Jacob Fry wound up holding on to power. So that wasn't a victory for the DSA, but the Katie Wilson types is. Mamdani certainly is. Now he's got this woman around him who's going to run his affairs. She's a Columbia University radical.
Yep.
It's not looking so pretty. And
she was a De Blasio. She was a De Blasio apostle, wasn't she?
Yeah, and he worked for the Sandinistas. So and literally, and New York businesses, restaurants are already saying they're not expanding. Over $100 million in contracts for people saying they're leaving the city already in the real estate market. Can I just mention about Florida quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just got back. I played golf with the Warriors Choice Foundation with guys who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan at Trump Jupiter Club. And, you go down there, they're knocking down $180 million homes to build $180 million homes on top of it. And everywhere you go, they're building $100 million homes like chiclets up and down the coast of Florida. And it's insane. It's insane. And the locals in Florida are starting to buy homes down there and doing upgrades in their house because they know the New Yorkers are coming and they're trying to beat them to the punch or have product for them when we emigrate out of New York, which leads the United States, I think, with 1% of our population being lost because Andrew Cuomo was a terrible governor. And since then, it's about over 1%. And I think it's either first or second to California.
Unbelievable. And so people are upgrading their homes so they'll increase in value and they'll sell them to the New York the home buyers that come down, right?
Well, yeah, and for the third time in the last 3 months, I heard somebody from Florida tell me they're moving to Alabama or other because they can't afford Florida.
Wow.
The only saving grace in Florida.
I was there a few months ago near the Gulf Coast of Alabama. It's really nice.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. It's one of the only states I haven't been in. But I got to say, in Florida, taxes are high, but they have half the budget in New York and 4 million more people. They're a little more responsible. But homeowners insurance is $5 to $10 grand a year every way.
Oh, that's because of the hurricane exposure.
And there's not a lot of high-paying jobs in Florida. You work in a hotel or something, you're making 40, 50, 60 grand a year.
Yeah,
you're not
service
raising a
industry.
family.
Service industry.
There's a lot of poverty. West Palm Beach, there's construction going on everywhere. Related, Steve Ross, Nora District, it's all going like gangbusters. But there's a lot of homeless on the street in West Palm Beach. I couldn't believe it. Oh yeah, 100%.
Wow.
So there's poverty there, and there's a gap, right? Because the poor can't even get like a regular apartment, and then people are building $50 million houses on every corner. So I think Florida's headed for some trouble, but right now it's healthy. It'll prosper for New York and other blue states.
David, what can we look for tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, breaking point on Real America's Voice News? Go ahead.
Oh, my God. I have Michael Pack, who's the director of the new Amazon documentary, The Last 600 Meters, the battles of Najaf and Fallujah. And it's about the Marines fighting door-to-door, hand-to-hand, rifles and bayonets, to take back these cities from Sunni and Shia insurgencies back in 2004, and conflicting U.S. policy. Well, Bremer and General Abizaid didn't want us to attack the mosque that Muqtada al-Sadr was sending insurgents to in the Najaf, and we had to surround it. We couldn't attack, and we lost momentum, and we had to go in again. It's an incredible documentary. You got to go on Amazon, and you got to watch this great movie, The Last 600 Meters. It's just terrific.
Michael's a great guest. I've had him on this show. He's
Wonderful.
A great guest.
Wonderful.
He's a great guest. Got anything else?
Yeah, I got a lot. I always got something going on.
Well, give us something. Come on, David. Throw something out there.
I got Brecken Thies from the Federalist on specific groups who are there in Berkeley and violent riots at Berkeley and who was behind that. And I also
you mean the home of free speech? That Berkeley?
Yeah, violent speech. Yeah, it's
man.
terrible. Jeremiah Puff, I also have about the H-1B visas, the pros and cons, and Trump's new fee to get in. So it'll be a packed show.
Wow. Again, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Download the app. It's free.
America's
It's free.
Voice.
Real America's Voice. David, thank you so much. It's good to see you, my friend, and we will talk soon.
Thank you as always, Jake.
All right. You're watching Your News Talk America. More of our program and Salute the Troops coming your way in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Honor those men and women who have defended freedom whenever and wherever it was threatened. The Talk of Delmarva presents Salute the Troops.
Salute the Troops honors the service to our nation of Charles A. Sandusky, who died on April 18, 2020 at the age of 87. He was known as Chuck and was born in Cincinnati, Ohio on March 15, 1933. He was raised in Liberty, Kentucky, where he was the fourth oldest of 11 children. Sandusky joined the U.S. Air Force at the age of 19 and was stationed at Fairchild Air Force Base, where he met his future wife Sandra on a blind date. They were married for 63 years. Mr. Sandusky served in the U.S. Air Force for 27 years and achieved the rank of Command Sergeant. He did tours in Korea and Vietnam. Salute to Troops honors the memory of U.S. Air Force veteran Command Sergeant Charles A. Sandusky. If not for his 27 years of service defending freedom in the U.S. Air Force, this nation could not. This nation would never have remained free. May this grateful nation never forget the name Charles A. Sandusky. For Salute to Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
From the YNTA Car Care Center studio, it's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America back here in DS2. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, with you until noon Eastern Time. We were talking during the 11 o'clock segment about this City of London cabal. And this morning I was picking out a tie. I decided to go with a traditional blue-green tie. And I was going to wear a different tie, and I looked at the label and it said City of London. There's actually a men's clothing line, and I bought quite a few ties from the City of London. I'm like, maybe today is not the best day, the perfect day to wear a City of London tie. Now, let me just go to a couple of comments here, and I asked the producers to comment on the 11 o'clock segment with Brigadier General Blaine Holt and Geoff Gilson, the author of Maggie's Hammer. And please, if you can just order that book, that would be, well, it helps Geoff out and it helps us out too. It's $15 if you can do it. Go on Amazon, wherever you buy books. Maggie's Hammer. Geoff Gilson is the author. But I asked our producers, and producer Bob, Jake, this segment was amazing. More. We want more just like it. Well, again, this is how our owner, Mark Giuliani, conceived Your News Talk America and the interactive nature of the show, that we would have a panel of people who would be discussing topics. And I've been getting more and more segments booked like that, even during the week when we're not streaming video. And it's worked, but it's not easy to try to get more than one panelist to come on to discuss a topic. Sometimes people don't want to go and be challenged by someone else. That's the challenge for me, where we get people that want to go on together and they want to debate or they want to talk and discuss issues or disagree on issues and debate. That's what it's about. But we're gonna keep trying to do that, and where we can, we'll certainly plug it in. Let me get down to, let's see. Producer Bruce said, very informative. Thank you, Bruce. That's much appreciated. Thank you very much for that comment. And again, the response on the part of you producers today has been fabulous. Thank you so much. But the monologue for my show this morning, if you had the opportunity to listen to the first hour, which is not video streamed, at least not at this point, I talked about the fact that when I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, my lovely bride lifted her head off the pillow and said, how do you do it? In other words, how do you keep getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, I do because I love this so much. And this news cycle I compare it sometimes to 1968, but it's much different than 1968. Where we were dealing with political assassinations. We were dealing with rioting and racial demonstrations and things of that nature. Today, there's just so much going on. And General Holt talked about it. I played the cut. We're constantly changing, and it's hard to keep up with it. And there are so many different outlets to monitor. Let me see if I can find that cut. If you give me a moment, and I'll play this for the benefit of all our viewers and listeners today. If I have it right here, let me see if I can find it. I know it's here, so if I can just give me a moment. Okay, here it is. I think this is the cut.
We don't recognize, ordinary citizens around the world don't recognize that they're on the battlefield, or that they are a target, or that they're in any way, shape, or form being targeted, but they are. And fifth generation warfare is everything all at once, and you are moving through timelines now. If you just look at the news cycle, you're moving through timelines where the news stories, even hot ones, don't last longer than maybe a few hours, and it's all by design. They're using media, they're using manipulation ops, they're using weather, they're using cyber attacks, they're using, and now with AI coming on, they're using grand deceptions that look so authentic, and people are meant to be kept in a higher state of tension, stress, anger towards their fellow neighbor about anything. Anywhere in the world, in the West especially, you can find it. People will snap. You bump into somebody's shopping cart and they're ready to go to war with you. And it's because of the information warfare environment, the psychological operations warfare environment.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, General Holt studied warfare. He knows about the psyops aspect of war. It's a very important part of war, and he talked about it. Colonel Schaefer talked about it as well recently. Their latest General Holt's latest podcast he did with his friend, his close friend. They are close friends, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer. But I did hear General Holt, as we wrapped up our segment with Geoff Gilson, say that he wants him on his podcast. And as a matter of fact, I just sent an email out to both of them, giving them their email addresses so that they can communicate and be on each other's podcasts. So, my friends, there's so much to talk about this, and I realize no one wants to believe that we have a world war going on right now. That's what it is, because General Holt said every person on the earth is on the battlefield. Everyone, every person, whether it's China, the United States, the UK, ordinary people on the battlefield. That's where we are, and that's what we have to understand. Our producer Dan says, "Enjoy the debate format." Yeah, that's the way the show is actually set up, Dan, and I hope that and I'm taking on more and more bookers, people that book guests. They contact me and they say, "Listen, I want to present this guest to you. You have any?" Like Congresswoman Salazar, for instance. She is trying to promote this new book of hers, which, if we pay attention to it, it's going to allow people that keep their noses clean, illegal here in the United States for 5 years, they can stay. Now, that's the debate. But it's up for debate, and it should be up for debate, not just an immediate, no, we don't want that. But, yeah, Dan, the debate format is exactly how this show was conceived. So as I get more and more bookers contacting me, and I'm adding at least one every couple of weeks, I probably have 3 times the number of bookers now than when the show first rolled out a year and a half ago, which means I'm getting more access to more guests. I'm getting more access to those who are part of various think tanks and organizations and publishers that have something to say. So if you're listening via the radio broadcast right now, why not sign up on Dial? What have you got to lose? The people, our producers today, they really, I couldn't believe all the questions, and some of them I couldn't get to. I had to move. Sometimes I move questions around because it's submitted for one guest and it's more appropriate for another guest or another panelist. But we're going to do more of these debates or panels, as we call them, because really that's what you need to hear. You need to decide for yourself in this information age, and that's where this interactive program, unlike any other radio program anywhere, and thanks to Mark Giuliani and his vision to put this together, I feel grateful that I can do it. But I want to remind you that you have a voice. Make sure your voice is heard loud and clear. Have a great weekend. Millie, Triel, you're home. See you back on Monday.